Welcome to Midnight Story. The night started like any other. A gentle rain tapped against the windows of my small house on Cedar Grove Lane, the kind of soft rain that feels like a lullaby. The world outside was quiet, wrapped in a cool blanket of mist. Inside, my lamps glowed warm and golden, the kind of light that makes the walls feel safe, almost like they're hugging you back. I had just made a cup of chamomile tea. I remember holding it between my hands, letting the warmth settle deep into my palms. It had been a long week, the kind of week that pulls at your chest a little too hard, the kind that makes you crave silence and healing. My old house creaked lightly as I walked toward the living room, the wooden floorboards greeting me like familiar friends. And then, at 9:47 p.m., the doorbell rang, just once, a soft, single chime. Not rushed, not urgent, almost polite. I froze for a moment. Because no one ever visited me at this hour. In our quiet town, people rarely visited unannounced at all. I set the tea down, feeling my heart give a slow, curious thump. I walked toward the door as the rain continued whispering on the roof. When I opened it, no one was there, only the mist, and the empty street, and the faint glow of a street lamp swaying gently in the breeze. For a moment, I simply stood there, listening to the night breathe. Something felt unusual, not threatening, not frightening, just strange, like the air was holding a secret it wasn't sure how to share. I stepped out onto the porch. The wooden boards were damp beneath my socks, and the scent of rain-soaked earth drifted upward, grounding, familiar, comforting. No footsteps on the walkway. No sign of a visitor. Nothing disturbed. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been here. Maybe even someone who had wanted to speak to me. I went back inside, gently shutting the door. I told myself it was nothing, maybe the wiring of the old doorbell. Maybe the wind, maybe just a strange coincidence. But deep inside, in the quiet part of my heart, I knew better. The night had shifted, something had arrived, and whatever it was, felt connected to me. The rest of the evening felt heavier. As if the air inside my house was holding its breath with me. I tried to return to the couch, to the faint steam curling from my mug of tea. But something inside me kept drifting toward the door, toward that strange, lonely chime. I finally sat down, exhaling deeply. My fingers wrapped around the warm ceramic cup, seeking comfort in its simple, steady heat. But before I could even lift it to my lips, the doorbell rang again, this time softer, like someone barely dared to press it. My breath caught in my throat. I stood up slowly, not frightened, no more, like drawn. Like something, or someone, needed me to listen. The rain outside had grown gentler. A soft pattering like fingertips brushing the window. The lamps glowed warm, reflecting off the wooden floor as I walked toward the door. My heartbeat steadied, calmer than it should have been. Almost as if I already knew I wasn't in danger. Almost as if part of me had been waiting for this moment. I opened the door. Once again, the porch was empty. No figure waiting, no shadow moving, no footsteps retreating into the night. But this time, something was there. A small object lay on the doormat, barely bigger than a coin, wet from the rain, glimmering under the porch light. I knelt down, reaching for it slowly. It was a key, old, bronze, slightly tarnished, but warm to the touch, as if someone had just held it moments ago. There was a tiny tag tied around it with a thin piece of string. A faded rectangle of paper, the edges worn soft with time. I lifted it, squinting under the porch light. There were only 2 words written on the tag, handwritten in looping, familiar script. For you. My chest tightened. A soft, painful squeeze of recognition. Because I had seen that handwriting before. Not recently. Not even in the last few years. But once. A very long time ago. I brought the key inside, drying it gently with a towel. I placed it on the table beside my slowly cooling tea. Then I sat down, and for a long while, I simply stared at it. Memories drifted around the edges of my mind. Gentle, blurry, half-forgotten moments. Like pages of an old diary left open too long. A voice, a laugh, someone I had once known so well, that their presence had felt like sunlight. Someone I had lost, not taken, not gone forever, but lost in the way 2 people sometimes drift apart, even when they never really meant to. That handwriting on the tag. I whispered their name without meaning to. Barely a breath, barely a sound, but saying it out loud felt like reopening a door inside me I had closed a long time ago. The key, the empty porch, the gentle rings, none of this felt random. It felt intentional. It felt personal. And for the first time that night, a quiet realization settled inside my chest. Whoever had come to my door was connected to a part of my story I thought I had buried. And they weren't done yet. Not even close. The lid of the wooden box lifted, with a quiet, trembling sigh, as if it had been waiting years for someone to open it again. Inside, resting delicately in a bed of faded velvet, was a folded letter. Its edges were worn, its paper yellowed with time, and a faint scent rose from it. Something familiar, like old books, and rain-soaked pine, and memories I had never truly let go. My fingers moved slowly, as though afraid the paper might dissolve at my touch. I lifted the letter, feeling a soft warmth pulse from it, as if the past itself still carried a heartbeat. I unfolded it, and the handwriting inside, that looping, gentle script, made my breath catch. It was theirs, the person I once believed I would spend my life with, the person who left without a final goodbye, the person whose memory still flickered quietly in the corners of my heart. The letter began with my name, not spoken, not whispered, but written, in that soft, familiar curve that always felt like coming home. I read the words slowly, each one landing deep, like a drop of warm rain on quiet earth. If you are reading this, it means I found the courage I never had. The day I walked away, my chest tightened. The rain outside faded into a distant hush, as if the whole night leaned in to listen. There are things I never said, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how. My hands trembled slightly. I left something behind with you, something I hoped you would find, only when you were ready. I lowered the letter, feeling a soft, aching warmth rise in my chest. The kind of ache that doesn't hurt, but reminds you of how deeply you once cared. I looked back into the box. There was one more item inside. Small, round, wrapped in a strip of cloth, the color of dusk. I lifted it gently, and unfolded the cloth. Inside was a pocket watch, old, but polished with love, the metal warm in my palm, as though someone had been holding it only moments before. I pressed the tiny button on its side. The lid opened, with a delicate click. Inside was a photograph of me and them, taken on a day when the world felt simple, and full, and bright. A soft breath escaped my lips. Memories flooded gently, tender, slow, like waves rolling onto soft sand. Our laughter, our long walks, our quiet mornings, the promises we made, on nights when the stars looked close enough to touch. And then, the silence that followed. I closed the watch carefully, holding it between my hands, as if it were made of something breakable. But, before I could sink deeper into the tide of memory, a sound drifted through the house. Not the doorbell this time. No, it was softer, gentler, almost like knocking, but not on the door. On the window. 3 quiet taps, slow, even, intentional. I turned my head toward the sound, the pocket watch still resting against my heart. The window pane glowed faintly, with the reflection of the street lamp outside. I stood up, moving carefully through the hush of my home. Each step felt guided, as though the night itself was leading me somewhere I was meant to go. When I reached the window, I lifted my hand and gently pulled back the curtain. The street outside was empty, silent, still, wrapped in the soft silver glow of drifting mist. But on the windowsill, pressed lightly against the glass, was a single white flower. Fresh, bright, glowing faintly in the moon-soaked air. A flower I hadn't seen in many, many years. A flower they used to bring me whenever they wanted to apologize, without words. A flower that meant, I'm here, I'm sorry, I never stopped caring. I placed my fingertips gently on the cool glass, my breath softening, my heartbeat slowing. Whoever had come to my door, whoever had left the box, whoever had spoken my name, they weren't gone. They were close, very close, and the night wasn't even halfway finished with what it wanted to reveal. If you are new my channel, please subscribe and press bell icon. Calm down, close eyes, sweet dreams, good night.